Welcome back to the Barrels Smoke Podcast. We are back with another episode, joined with Cole on the pod here today, kind of talking some national championship stuff, talking some NBA stuff, and just some coaching stuff in the college realm as well. So that's talking about some NBA coaching cycles as well. Um, just kind of just like a little feel out episode, kind of talking about some different things in the college space. March Madness just wrapped up on Monday night. We got the plan starting for the NBA next Tuesday. That's starting to ramp up for NBA playoffs. So we have this kind of week before basketball gets real serious again. Kind of talk about some things that are kind of the trending topics in the air. We'll talk about the Chicago Bulls, Mike Malone to UNC, national championship, some coaches that we think are kind of on the hot seat in this kind of playoff run, or some teams that could use a fresh coach in the building. And then we'll talk about some teams that have a promising future next season or a dark future next season. We can kind of get into it with the national championship game. Cole, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, the national championship, kind of ugly game. And the first half, they're calling all these like ticky tack fouls kind of on both teams, mainly UConn. Obviously, one that comes with UConn's aggressive defensive style that they play with, and two, Michigan just having more size than everyone they play against. It's easy to complain about Michigan getting calls, but they're just bigger than everyone. That's just going to kind of come with it. And then the second half, they had to adjust how they play. It just seemed a little inconsistent to me. Like guys were they'd get 2 feet in the paint and then they were just getting mauled. And it was a physical ass game, so I enjoyed that aspect of it. But also, everyone's going to complain about neither team shooting very well, not very electric. And also, it is a little bit annoying to me in big time games when it feels like there's never a flow. Like we caught one a little bit in the second half, but I don't know how you could get tired playing in this stage. You could be able to play every single player out there could play 40 minutes easily with how much stoppage there is, how long every commercial is. It's like instead of a 30 or full 60-second timeout, it seems like they add time onto it to get more advertisements in. It's like, how could you even get tired? Like the game took over 2 hours, which I get every big basketball game is gonna be around 2, but it was a long game. I'm not trying to complain because the better team won, and I thought it was a really good tournament overall.
Yeah, the only thing I have to add to kind of like the atmosphere of it all, and you brought up the poor shooting. I think it's a realm of guys not making shots, but it's also a realm of like them playing in an atmosphere. I'm not talking about the stage of the national championship, but playing in like such a big space like that and the depth perception, like throughout the Final Four, like the court
True.
being raised. Like I don't like that feel. I don't like how teams can play just in regular places that they've been playing all year and then get to the biggest stage, the biggest game that means the most, and we're changing all this thing to try to have this like all-time different feel. I'd rather you just play like obviously still neutral site, but just at a normal arena. We're not making everything like I think the coach for women's UConn said it the best. Gino, he was saying that like the baskets are brand new, the balls are overinflated, and then we've heard those kind of things for years with March Madness and everything else like that. I just wish it was a little bit more toned down. I know it's a national championship, it's a big stage and everything else like that, but I would just some of those things, those little things on the basketball court can make it just that different. And I feel like from two teams that were really good offensively all tournament, especially Michigan, to kind of both have goose eggs all first half. Then second half, offensive flow came a little bit more, and they got a little bit more adjusted. But I just hate the kind of feel that kind of the Final Four national championship has in that aspect of it. But that could just be a me thing.
Yeah, I'm kind of split because I like the big game feel. Like I like
Mm-hmm.
the how big it adds a little something to it. But other than that, I tend to agree because it feels weird to change things, like you said, and also like we both know they won't ever take it out of a football stadium because if they're able to sell out 70,000, why wouldn't
Yeah.
you do that instead of just selling out 40,000?
I just think
And
that can
also,
really mess with it a lot more than people think
yeah,
of playing in a basketball arena compared to a football like a stadium like that.
100% can. 100% can. But for some guys, like they did. And the thing is, too, it's like some guys didn't have the problem, too. But
Right.
overall, you would say so. And I saw this other like guy I listened to, he made a video basically saying like all the pictures you see of how it looks so far away. He said the iPhone definitely does something to it. It doesn't actually like you can see it better than all the pictures from the crowd make it seem. So I
Mhm.
guess that's a little something. But no, I mean I agree. It's just being a normal NBA arena, but either way, good
Getting
tournament.
into what I thought about just the actual game itself a little bit, just because we're talking about one game. Michigan, obviously, clearly the bigger team, more physical team. They just had the size. They've had it all tournament. Having somebody like Yaxel Lendenborg at his size, 6'9", 6'10", being able to be the point of their press at times, it just makes it so hard to find a clean passing lane. And he's a very valuable asset because when the UConn did start to press and Michigan started to struggle a little bit because they're not used to that kind of pressure and getting pressed like that on the
Right.
defensive side. So like having somebody at 6'10" be able to see over the defense like that and to find lanes. He made a really good pass where he was getting trapped, had pressure on him, and then he flung a cross court pass to I think Morez Johnson in the front court when they were getting pressed and UConn was trying to push back into the game late. That's just me shouting out like Yaxel Lendenborg, hopefully a future Warrior at some point. But he's just a dog playing through injury and everything else like that. He had a really, and don't let the injury Final Four national champion. Bro was killing all tournament. Bro was getting
Yeah,
20
he
a
played like
night all
shit that game,
tournament.
but he was
Yeah.
good other than that game. Yeah.
hmm So I think it more so Michigan. They were just the better, more physical team. They had too much size for UConn. Elliot Cadeau, somebody who was getting a lot of flack going into this tournament because him being their main primary point guard. Shot diet can be a little iffy at times, but he was controlling that offense. He was being super aggressive on defense, multiple steals a game throughout the tournament. Like he was the difference maker, and he was honestly might be the biggest reason they won this tournament because when he's not on the floor, that offense looks so stagnant and with him on the court, the offense just flowed so much better, in my opinion, with him being at the point guard spot. And he was just a problem to deal with. Nobody on Arizona could guard him, and nobody on the UConn could guard him. He got both guards that were guarding him in the Arizona game and in the UConn game in foul trouble early, which took them completely out of the game from the offensive standpoint because they were sitting on the bench. So I think he's a big sleeper and a big reason why they got to this point in the tournament. Because without him on the court, I thought their offense looked a little shaky. But from UConn's perspective, if you can say what you want about Dan Hurley and the antics and all the other bullshit, if you don't like watching UConn basketball, you don't like the sport. The offensive sets that they're able to produce, they ran a horns flare action where Caravan got it in the mid post and then flung it out to a flare for Braylon Mullins and he hit the three. Like they were running great actions all night long, and you can watch an entire montage of just their sets from the tournament. It's just beautiful basketball. The looks that they're able to get their offense, and it came down to they just didn't make enough shots. Braylon Mullins came out slow. He got it going a little bit later in the
Dude.
second half. If Solo Ball didn't get in foul trouble, I felt like he would have had a much better offensive game as well. But that's what happens when you're playing a team that's just a lot bigger than you. You tend to pick up those easy fouls, and I think that's what kind of took Solo Ball out of the game. But their sets in that UConn style of basketball, like they're going to be a team that can get deep into the tournament every single year because of just how they are offensively and how tough they are to guard. And against a Michigan defense that is like one of the best in the country, they were able to produce such good, clean looks. They just weren't hitting the shots. And kind of that's just the name of the game. I'm kind of surprised it was a 6 point game and it was a 6 point loss for them because it could have got really out of hand, but they made a really good, strong push at the end of that game. But last thing I'll say is like UConn, they're going to be able to make deep runs in this tournament all the time. And dude, it's Dan Hurley, UConn. They're going to reload. They're going to be right back in the tournament next year, making a deep push. Like I have no doubt in my mind because they're just such a tough team to deal with. It took a tough, like I felt like they were a little outmatched against Michigan, and it was still just a 6 point loss for them. Like that's how good of a game I feel like
But
UConn
yeah,
coached. They just didn't make enough shots.
I mean, you said it best about him in the tournament. Dan Hurley's 18-1 against the spread, and the only one he didn't cover was first round versus Furman this year when he set the line set at like 30 something. So that tells you everything you need to know about him getting the best out of whatever team he has. And also, like you mentioned, the sets. I won't go in about them too much more. We pretty much hit it all. There's a few there's my favorite one was maybe I think it was the end of the first half, under 2 minute timeout. Had like a triple, some false actions, triple pin down. First two guys curl it, and then you got I think it was Caravan maybe came off the third one, and his guy had to help on the curls, and he's just wide open. Like there's just a whole bunch of different he's running false shit all the time, and then you just bang. All of a sudden, one of them was to get a shooter wide open or just to get an easy layup. He's a mastermind. Him and his staff, Luke Murray, who's going to be Boston College's head coach next year. Like he's a part of that as well. So I love UConn, honestly. Like they're really fun to watch because of all that exact shit we were just talking about. Yeah.
Last thing I'll say on them is like I'm interested to see how the team, because they've had guys come and go to the league and everything else like that. But like I'm interested to see how much the offense. Not saying it's going to change at all, but I'm interested to see not having somebody like Alex Carabin in there, somebody who's just been around the system for so long, and being able to kind of be that point forward when they need him to be. And I think it's really interesting to see what kind of direction they go into, because UConn's always had him as the kind of that staple of every team. Like he's the guy that is just so solid, so sound in the offense. So I'm interested to see where this offense goes from there. But it's Dan Hurley, it's UConn. They're going to be back, and I'm for sure about it.
Yep.
And then we can kind of jump in, stay in the college realm as well. Mike Malone to UNC, kind of the shocking news that broke a couple days ago. What are the initial thoughts?
I was very surprised because North Carolina has always hired in house. And it's funny that like within years that they go Bill Belichick, then they go Mike Malone, they snag two guys from the pros. I mean, we don't have a huge sample size on what hiring an NBA-like coach is in the new kind of era of college sports. But I don't love it, the idea of it in general, based on what we've seen of just how it translates between the two. I mean, Mike Malone's an incredible coach. I think he's going to be able to have great teams. We've seen him do a lot with the Denver Nuggets, of course, but a lot of being a college basketball coach right now is roster building, and he never really had to do that for the Nuggets. So we can say whatever we want about Mike Malone as a coach. Michael Malone, he's an awesome coach. He's an NBA champion. He's been coaching. He was coaching the NBA for like 15 years or whatever. He's been around the college game before with University of Virginia and I think like Manhattan. I don't have many opinions because it's hard. Like I have nothing bad to say about him as a coach, but I have no idea what he's going to look like as a roster builder. I think it's so hard to be a great college coach nowadays because he just got hired and the portal opens. It just opens. So it's like he's got to get straight to work. And if he doesn't get the roster he wants, yes, it's North Carolina. Yes, he should be able to do well, but the bar is set so high there. That's another thing. It's not. It's just going to be an interesting job for a guy who has not coached in college basketball in over 15 years to get thrown in with the expectations to beat Duke at home at least and win 2 games and get out of the first weekend in the NCAA tournament. I mean, we're not talking about him joining a Wake Forest where it's like, hey, we've been down. We just need you to get us to the tournament. You got a year or two to do it. There's no high expectations. It's the highest expectations for a guy who hasn't coached in a long time. And I could just see a situation. I hate to make it this simple, but like how Bill Belichick, and he's nowhere near Bill Belichick's level of what he's accomplished, but how Bill Belichick just gets thrown in the fire and everyone's like, oh, it's Bill. They're gonna get it done. I don't
also,
know.
Like
I don't
college
know.
UNC for like football side UNC, basketball side UNC, they're on 2 completely different stratospheres.
100%. I just more mean in general, like I was a little surprised by the hire.
I am, and I'm not at the same time because I wanted it to, like, initially I'm like, that's an interesting hire for UNC because you did say in-house stuff. But I kind of have this, like, interesting mindset on it to where I think it's going to work super well. I've seen a lot of the roster building aspects of it and everything else like that. But this might be a little bit of a hot take. I think we're going to start seeing this a lot more because what has college turned into with NIL? It's a free agency, which is the portal. I think the college game is more NBA-like than it's ever been. I mean, the tournament ended, and you saw damn near half of college basketball in the portal. Like, it's fucking free agency. Like, so I'm not saying Mike Malone is like some GM that's coming down to coaching or anything else like that, but I think he
knows how it works, though.
Yes, he has this relatability because he's coached these guys that are in the NBA.
He can coach you more transactionally.
Yes, and I think that's a big thing of a part of recruiting in college basketball is, can you get me to the league? This is an NBA championship level coach that has coached the best player in the world, that has pretty much built these great offenses in Denver around Nikola Jokic. Like, I think this is going to work out really, really well. And I'm glad they went this route because of the pressure on them. Mike Malone's dealt with pressure. I think he was wrongfully fired. He was scapegoated in
Correct.
Denver for a lot of shit that was going on behind the scenes and everything else like that. So they scapegoated a great coach. And the only reason that they're still head above water now is because they already had this championship level fucking team. It's not like they went to a rebuild after Mike Malone was gone. So I'm looking at this as like, I really am starting to like the hire because I think from an offensive standpoint, UNC can have one of the best offenses in the country. And I know the team building aspect is different at the college level, but it still is UNC. It's still one of the biggest brands in college basketball. I think they're going to be fine in terms of the recruiting space, but I do think they need to kind of tailor this roster to Mike Malone a little bit going in to be like, all right, listen, whatever you need, we're going to try to make it happen for you. But I think if he gets the guys and the right guys for his system and how he likes to play offense and that ball movement style, obviously they're not going to find no Nikola Jokic in college basketball, but if he can get that fast-paced, up-tempo style like in the college space, I think he's going to do wonders for UNC, honestly. I think this is such a great hire for them. If in a high pressure situation, I want a guy that's been in high pressure shit before, like Mike Malone, in terms of winning an NBA championship.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to play the devil's advocate side of it when I first went into it because it is really easy for me. Like when I first saw it, I was like, oh damn, NBA coach, good. Then I kind of like had to like see the other side of it. So I wanted to share that just because I know like, hey, like we talk a lot of NBA, so we're obviously both going to be high on Michael Malone. So I kind of wanted to play the route of like, hey, it's North Carolina though, it's college, who knows, blah, blah, blah. End of the day, he's a great coach. And what I will say is they won't lose because of him being an incompetent basketball coach. It'll be more about just what the landscape of college basketball is, to where I'm a Kansas fan, where Kansas, North Carolina, even Duke and all the blue bloods just really have no advantage anymore. So that's where I'm at with it. And that's what I don't like. Sure, they have more money, but everyone has money, at least enough money to build a roster that is capable of winning a title if they have the right scouting. So yeah, that's kind of what side I wanted to.
It's gonna be because I agree with also like some of the negatives that you could see as well. So like I'm open eyes to like both sides of it. But at the end of the day, I think I'm just trusting Mike Malone, NBA championship level coach, really good coach. I felt like he got wronged in Denver. I think this is a really good opportunity for him to kind of build a legacy in North Carolina, honestly. And they need a coach like him, in my opinion.
One thing I want to add, though, about Michael Malone. I'm not saying that this is anything. He has been able to do a lot of things in the NBA, regardless of who I'm going to bring up. But we aren't talking about. I mean, he also did coach the best player in the NBA for like 8 years. So do I think he's still a great coach and smart basketball coach and knows what he's doing and can get guys motivated? I mean, we've seen the fiery side of him. We've seen his passion. We've seen his great. He's put. Not only does he just have Jokic, he's been able to hide Jokic defensively at times, also put other guys in good positions around Jokic. I'm not saying that Jokic does everything. I respect the sport too much to even say that, but I do want to like question it. Like, hey, like, what if he can't get a guy who can run his offense like he wants to, right? Like, what does that look like? Listen, these are just devil's advocate things. This isn't what I think's going to happen. I mean, if he had a Caleb Wilson level player this year, I'm sure he's able to make that offense look great around him and get Caleb Wilson in great spots. That's just used him because he was UNC's best player this past year, who's an NBA talent. So and like you mentioned earlier, last thing I'll say about the whole any of this is like, hey, one is North Carolina, and two, he can do the John Calipari pitch the NBA game to high school recruits. So that helps.
Yeah. And we can kind of transition into NBA. Getting into Chicago Bulls, firing the front office. Very interesting, very positive thing from Bulls fans everywhere, seeing that they are possibly finally going into a different direction. I kind of have 3 ways I'm looking at this and 3 questions they need to quickly answer before they go into this offseason, because I like Billy Donovan as a coach, but I think there is a world where you just need to wipe the slate clean and get a younger coach in there and just get another coach in there as well. Because I think that's the route. That's a route that I think once you fire front office people, I think you need to go ahead and clean slate the entire thing and go ahead and get another coach in there as well. And he's been with the Bulls for years, and I just think he's I don't know. I think he's run his course, and I think if he could go to a different
Well,
team and be better.
I see. I want to jump in right here. I think he's going to be the new GM of the Bulls
Interesting.
because if they
You
do
think he takes a
that,
Brad Stevens? Brad Stevens, who
and
was a
then
coach, and then
you got to know who these owners are. These owners are so bad in Chicago that it took them this long to fire the GM, and they're also so fucking cheap that if they just make Billy Donovan the GM, they now can get a new head coach and not have to overpay for a coach, and they save money that way. And they won't get the and they won't and they aren't trying to bring in a big time GM or whatever that would be at this big. They're not calling, I don't know, Bob Myers. They're not calling Brad Stevens to try to get him over to Chicago with the bag like what the Lakers would do. Like, you kind of get what I'm getting at. Like, no, they're trying to save money in Chicago, and that's hurt that franchise. So I think they're going to make Billy Donovan the GM. One, I don't just think they're going to do it to save money. I think Billy Donovan has earned that also. I think he's an amazing basketball coach, and he's done things with Bulls rosters that he shouldn't have. That he's been in a tough spot. He's been in a tough spot.
yeah.
I like Billy Donovan. He's been able to win in the NBA without having like an ISO player, star player, just getting. I just like him as a basketball mind. I think he's going to be the new GM of the Bulls.
I never even kind of looked at it in that aspect. I'm glad you brought that up of him stepping up and being a GM because of he has earned it, and I think it would be. I think that would be kind of the safe Chicago Bulls option to go with him as the GM and then bring in another coach because I just think he also knows talent. Yeah, I also do agree that he's kind of been in a tough spot.
National championship college coach.
Yeah. Like he knows how to win. He knows how to win. The only things that like I'm looking at it is like the quick pivots. What are you going to do in the draft? How different is this draft going to be for you now? And the other question I had is Josh Giddey your long-term point guard? I wanted to say that because we are in a point guard rich draft class. Yes, you have all these guards on your team next year. You're not probably going to have Simons on your team, like all those guys, like a lot of these guys aren't going to be on the roster next year. So like you're not even really worried about a whole lot of that. But Josh Giddey's the main one to where like I like him as kind of a table setter at the guard spot. But with this rich draft class, is Josh Giddey your long-term guy? Because if you end up in a spot where you get like the 6th, 7th, or 8th pick or something like that, you're looking at Keaton Wagner, Kel Brown, Kingston Flemings. Like, not saying you can't still draft those guys and then figure out what you want to do with Josh Giddey later, because I think Josh Giddey is great for guys that are developing, which is why I think it's good to keep him around. But I also don't. The one pick I would hate to see them make on draft night is Nate Ament. Nate Ament is the one pick I would hate to see them make, and I can see them making it because they just made this shit last year with Noah Essengay, who's a big-time project play. And I'm not saying the Bulls are going to all of a sudden shake back and be like a top 5 seed in the East or anything like that. Anything can happen, but it's just like you already just drafted a forward of kind of that same mold who's a project play who you might not see his full potential for 4 or 5 years from now. You have Matas Buzos, who's breaking out on the scene right now. You have Josh Giddey. I'd like to see them take a shot on a big, but it's just like, I don't know. They have a lot of questions to pivot and quickly answer going into the offseason.
This all depends where they draw on lottery night, first of all, also, because there's a situation where if they can get a top 4 pick, that would be huge. I could also see them being a team that trades up on draft night with how many guards they have, maybe trying to work something like that. Not that they have a guard that's like big time, but who knows? Maybe another team values Josh Giddey a lot. I think Josh Giddey was perfect for Billy Donovan. I think Billy Donovan got the most out of Josh Giddey personally, with his style of not wanting that, like, he wanted to play like fast and share the basketball, and he kind of let Josh Giddey like run that offense. I think Josh Giddey's earned them letting them be his point guard. My thing with the Bulls, I don't think people are talking about a lot, is I don't know if we know what Modest is or is going to be. There was a time where I was extremely high on him after what I thought he showed me some stuff, and I still think I can be high on him. But I am not. I'm out on Modest being your franchise player. I'm out on it. We would have seen something by now for that. Can Modest be your 3rd best player? Maybe. I don't know. I don't believe in him being a guy that you go into draft night protecting. Now, I'm not drafting Nate Ament. I'm with you on that. I don't get that vibe from Modest. We would have seen it by now. He's had a lot of opportunity to show that, and a lot of other guys have shown it earlier. Modest is an unbelievable athlete. He works his butt off. You can tell that fucker wants to become great. by a lot of things I've seen online. Just a hardworking guy. Everyone says that. So I'm not trying to make this a modest hate thing, but he has not produced to a level to where I think you're saying we got the number 4 pick. You draft Caleb Wilson. Caleb Wilson is your powerful, no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. If
You're
they
not you're
jump up,
not
and then
taking
you're
a
having
cuff.
different conversations.
You're not taking Fleming, Zacuff, or Wagler over a Caleb Wilson just because you don't know about Giddy. Giddy is more cemented to me in that starting lineup than Amias Buzelis. I like Buzelis. I just am not sold on him being your guy going forward. And it felt like there was a time where they thought he was going to be that guy for them. And what we've seen from them in the past, I know they just fired this front office, but they paid a Pat Williams after he didn't do shit in his rookie time. So
Yeah.
they attach themselves to their draft picks. So that's why I think it's the best part about this move of them getting a new GM is now they're going to have somebody coming in, even if that's Billy Donovan like I think it is, he's not attached to a draft pick. He didn't make it.
Yeah. And I agree, kind of looking at the Bulls, they're in an interesting spot. Obviously, a lot of the questions we will have will be answered on lottery night and where they end up and if they can move up, stay where they're pretty much going to be at. But the only pick I have a problem with them making is something like a Nada Man, because I think it's another big project play, and it's like Noah Essengay all over again. Like, you're going to, like, who knows? And I think Nada Man is a sneaky candidate that could fuck around, stay at school. Who knows?
One more thing about the Modest thing, because I came off strong on him. He's a great player. I think he's going to be a great player. I'm saying I'm out on him being your franchise guy, and people might not even be heavy on that. I just want them to go forward with this rebuild very seriously, that they don't have that guy at all. And Modest, everything you get from Modest going forward is a luxury. That's what I'm more trying to say. Like, let's not jump a gun because of Modest and Giddey being your young core. Like, I think their old front office would have done and tried to win. Like, it has to be all in on finding 2 new best players on your team.
And I don't even hate the idea of Matas being your third, fourth option. If he's your third, fourth option, your franchise, you're in a really good spot. But we can kind of pivot into 2 kind of questions, getting into a little bit of playoff talk to end the episode. What team that didn't make the playoffs this year has like the brightest future? And I think there's an easy one, an easy gimme one, which is it's going to be like Dallas. You have Cooper Flagg. You could add another top 4 pick with him.
That's
Dallas
the obvious answer.
Is aggressive. They still have like really good pieces like on that roster. You're getting Kyrie back. Like, think of a team not named Dallas.
I think Indiana comes to mind, but that's kind of also an obvious one to me, just because of where they're at with Tyrese Halliburton and just what they might be able to get in the draft this year too. I want to kind of go the route of, I mean, I'll let you talk about them. You might want to mention them because I think you're buying into the future of the Brooklyn Nets, and I like that one. I'm not to spoil what maybe could have been your answer.
It wasn't. But I can kind of touch on Brooklyn a little bit though. Like, okay, I just think when you have this clean slate of a team that you're not fully attached to anybody super on this roster, even the guys they drafted last year, like outside of like Ben Seraph, you haven't really seen a ton that you really are like super attached to. And I think that's a valuable thing to have as a team, is not having that attachment at times and being able to just make big time moves whenever, because Brooklyn's a sneaky, solid, big market. And I think, like I said, I think they should buy in on a John Morant. You already have MPJ, who's coming off of a really, really good year where he showed a lot of things that people didn't know he had in Denver, because they didn't really need that from him in Denver a lot of the times, because he didn't have the ball in his hands that much, because you had Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic. So he's somebody at 6'10" that you could realistically, if they do end up in a tough spot on draft night, maybe MPJ and whatever pick you end up with is enough to get you traded up and maybe make something happen on draft night. I just think they're in such a good spot because they can go a number of different ways. And I think that's something a lot of NBA teams don't have with the second apron right now. And I like how they can be so versatile and seeing where they end up on draft night, and they can pivot to this and pivot to that. And I think they are a sneaky free agent team. But I can get into the team I really like. And I wasn't really high on it, but then I'm looking at kind of what they're building. I like Will Hardy as a coach. I'm going to talk about the Utah Jazz being a sneaky team. Like, we can kind of go jumping with this together. Is like, yes, could it get a little wonky because, like, say the Jazz end up in a situation to where they could get a Caleb Wilson, Cam Boozer, something like that. Like, it gets interesting because you just had Jaren Jackson Jr. traded for to the Utah Jazz. You have Walker Kessler, you have Lauri Markkanen, you already have, and you have Ace Bailey, who you drafted last year. You have these big, rangy forwards. I think Utah's still on the we're just picking best available. If they
Oh
were
yeah,
in a situation that
yeah.
we're picking best available. If it was like Caleb Wilson, AJ
Figure it
Debonsa,
out
that's a
later.
luxury. That's a luxury to have because of how versatile those two guys are. And then you could finally, if you get one of those two, you can pivot off somebody like Lauri Markkanen and kind of reset like a defensive tandem of a Caleb Wilson / AJ Debonsa with Jaren Jackson Jr. with a Walker Kessler anchoring down the defense. Like I think that in the West moves me. But say they don't get either of the Debonsa or Caleb Wilson like Cam Boozer. Say they get like 4 or 5 or whatever. Like say they get one of the
Shit,
guards.
I want them
You're
to get
still
Darren.
yeah. Like if Darren would be a great fit there. But I'm just looking at what they already have on their roster. Keontae George is really, really good this year, breakout candidate. I really like their coaching, Will Hardy. Lauri Markkanen is an easy 18-8 guy for them on a nightly basis. And then you're looking at Jaren Jackson Jr., former depoy. You're pairing him up with Walker Kessler. The defensive front court is going to be nasty in Utah. And then you have a 6'10 spark plug that can come off your bench and just go get his, because I think that's the best role for Ace Bailey right now in his career, is to just be somebody that comes off the bench and is just looking to get his, because I think that's what this Utah team needs. If there's anything they're missing, it's maybe a go-to shot creator. Cody Williams, I've actually been a little bit surprised with in his development this back half of the year. I know it's March basketball, April basketball, like it's kind of tough because a lot of teams are taking and shit like that, but I do like Isaiah Collier being a backup point guard on this team. But I think their best situation, if they didn't get, say they dropped. Obviously, we're asking a lot of hypotheticals with the lottery not being sorted out yet. But say they get like Keaton Wagner in this team. Say they get like somebody like even like a Kingston Flemings, Braden Burries, like somebody like that can just be an easy plug and play guy. But I just am so high on the Lauri, Triple J, Walker Kessler in that kind of front court. And then you have this guy and Keontae George that's just a bucket. You have Ace Bailey who's just a bucket, and Darren who could possibly be a bucket. Like he would be the go-to pick for them, obviously, if they ended up with one or two.
At the two.
So I think that would be the best pick for them in a perfect world, because then you're looking at Keontae, Darren Peterson, Lauri, Triple J, Walker Kessler, and off your bench, you're having like Ace Bailey off your bench right away has your 6th man. Cody Williams is still showing you some things. And then you still have Isaiah Collier, who I think is a really good backup guard, who I think they stole in the draft a year ago. Like they have a lot of things going on there over there in Utah, and they can be a matchup nightmare for a lot of teams. Like in my opinion, I'm taking them over a team that's in the plan right now next year, a team like Portland, who yes, Portland's getting Damian Lillard back, but I don't think those guys in Portland are as solidified as those guys in Utah. And I think Utah, with that size, look at what you need to compete. I think the Triple J trade was such a big brain move, because look at the guys. You're playing a Nikola Jokic. You're playing a Victor Wembanyama. You're talking about the top, a San Antonio Spurs team with Chet Holmgren, who has all these switchable defenders. Like now you can put some real size on the court in a tough Western Conference. I think it's going to be super interesting. And we're just kind of both high on the Jazz, but that's kind of like my mindset on it.
I like all that too, and like what makes like let's look at like last year and even this year with San Antonio. But last year with OKC, this year with San Antonio, OKC is maybe not the same, maybe not. Yeah, like I guess all these top young teams that come up, it's not just the star power that they get in the breakout player, because that's what we're going to be waiting on for the Jazz. And maybe we get that, because this is the year where they can get that top 3 pick, their franchise guy, AJ Debonsa, Darren Peterson, whoever you would prefer. I look at guys on this team like Bryce Sensabaugh, and like you mentioned, Ace Bailey off the bench. He's obviously a bigger prospect. But I look at like the Bryce Sensabaughs, Isaiah Colliers, the Kyle Filipowskis of the world that are like guys that I could see. I don't just think these are guys getting minutes on a shitty-ass team. I think these are guys who can legitimately be bench pieces on playoff teams, or at least creating a value for themselves to where when Utah's ready, they're able to make that move they need to make. Like that's what I get excited about with them, because I'm looking at, let's just say next year you go Keontae, Darren Peterson, Lowry, Jaren, and Walker. Like, dude, your bench is good too. Like if you get Darren to even, let's say as a rookie, Darren's a 17 a game guy, Keontae's back up, Keontae's at like 23, Lauri's at 17, whatever, Jaren's at 20. Dude, that's so much offensive production. Mix that offensive production with the size you have. And then you still got a guy like Filipowski who can shoot it off the bench, stretch big off the bench. You got a Bryce Sensabaugh who can go get a bucket when you let him try. Which Utah for a while now has just had a shitty ass defense. Before they made this move for Jaren, even then Jaren hasn't played, so their defense has sucked, even with having Walker Kessler at the rim protector. I don't see that being the case going forward. With Will Hardy, they're going to be able to get the points. They're going to be able to play on the 20s if they need to. But I think what they're building with all this size and the youth they have and guys just getting stronger and better is just going to be a really well-balanced team, to where that's why I wanted to bring them up, because a lot of times we talk about these bad teams and like for example, Washington, sure, I can get excited about what they might have, but I don't see it being serious anytime soon either. But with Utah, I think they decided to tank early. But I don't look at Utah as they're the worst team in the league right now. It's going to be so nice when they get a top 3 draft pick this year and get their guy. Man, you just got to wait on it. No. This trade they met, it means we are a piece away and we're ready to at least make the play-in. And I think shit happens if they hit on their pick and this draft class at the top is as special as we say it is. This shit can happen a lot quicker than we expect. That's why I wanted to talk about Utah. And shit, listen, just because we were high on Dallas going back, I still am for one reason only, and it's Cooper Flagg. I think he's going to be an All-NBA first-team guy very soon. But I'm even more high on Utah going next year than Dallas. I mean, yeah. I just don't unless we get Kyrie to stay, unless Kyrie's just still there and he's hooping, that's a different story. I just don't expect that. I think they're just going to fully, run it back from the start, build all the way around Cooper. Who knows though? That's why I'm saying it like this. I think Utah's ready to, like you said, they can be better than Portland. Are we going to get Phoenix to play this good 2 years in a row? I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. Are we going to get what is the West going to look like next year? That's kind of my thing. I just don't know, and I think Utah's ready to go once they get Darren Peterson or AJ DeBansa.
And we can transition to this question to what is the team with the darkest one, and I can go because I think it's only one team. I think it's a mix. I truly only think there's one truly horrific team in the most horrific spot, and I think it's the Pelicans. You're in this generational draft class with no first-round pick. Yes, is Derek Queen a good player? Yes, he is.
Fears had 40 last night.
Fears is a good player. Yeah. I like what they have, but no draft pick in this year where you have Bansas, Caleb Wilson's, you have franchise talent on paper. And
their roster is good as fuck. It's just they can't win.
Because I don't think their roster fits really well together.
It doesn't.
And I think they're still at this point in time compared to the Sacramento Kings, who are really a Zach LaVine trade away from kind of having like a little bit more flexibility. Because I just think Sabonis is still a really good player. I think DeMar DeRozan is what he is, but DeMar DeRozan's still a bucket getter. If you want to keep him around, cool. He's not on the craziest contract in the world, so you can get rid of that. You have no trade value on Zion because everybody's scared to trade for him, rightfully so because of the injury concerns. DeJounte Murray's coming off an Achilles, making a ton of money. Jordan Poole is making a ton of money. Trey Murphy's on one of the best deals in all of basketball, which I think I go back and forth on if you trade or keep him. You still have Herb Jones, who I think can net you a first-round pick, but they're probably going to be stupid and wait 3-4 years down the line and then get like 2 seconds like the Chicago Bulls did and not get the value for Herb Jones that they probably should have, because Herb Jones is more valuable to a contender than he is to your team that's bottom of the West. Like, looking at what they have, I just think their roster doesn't fit together, because I'm looking at them also in the Western Conference. I'm like, I'm sorry, a front court of Yves Missi, Derek Queen, and Zion Williamson isn't really doing a whole fucking lot for me on the defensive side of the ball. Yes, I like Jeremiah Fears as this go-to bucket getter at the point guard position.
He just can't shoot still, and he's 6'4".
But defensively, where this roster has what, 1-2 good defenders on the team, and if you want to consider Trey Murphy an above-average defender, which I think he is and can be.
He's got above-average wing size, but he don't defend.
But Herb Jones is your only defender on the entire roster. You still have DeJounte Murray coming back from the Achilles. Like, what is all this stuff going to look like?
And he's
it's very, their roster is just doesn't fit at all, and I think they're in a tough spot because they don't have any value. Who wants Jordan Poole on that contract right now? Who wants Zion with the injury concerns? Who wants DeJounte's money coming off an Achilles? Your only valuable player is Trey Murphy, who's on a really good contract, but they're not going to trade him. Herb Jones valuable, but they're not going to trade him in my eyes. Like, yes, Derek Queen and Fears are fun, but what's the fit? What's the fit on this roster? If everybody was healthy, what the fuck is their starting lineup? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I have no fucking idea. Like, and you
I
have no
agree.
draft pick this year. You have no draft pick.
I think you got they're afraid to rebuild because they just don't. No one trusts each other in that organization. Listen, I still think Zion has at least enough value to where it's worth trading him because he doesn't barely do anything for you anymore. The idea of Zion has value though. Listen, he has not been very good this year when he has played, but truth is, in the past, he still was able to bring you that high level efficiency, if you will, and like just being productive as shit in the limited times he would play. I don't know if you get that from anymore, but I still think the idea of Zion is enough to make it worth it to trade. Don't just keep Trey Murphy just because he is on the younger side for your team. The truth is he doesn't fit your timeline. You guys are so bad and so far from where you actually should want to be and where the fans deserve for their front office to try to be that even if you don't make any mistakes going forward with your team, you're still going to have to pay him another contract and he does not fit your timeline. I get it. He's on the younger side, so you don't feel like you want to trade him. You want to try to keep this young core and him a part of it. It doesn't matter. It's like he just is not a part of your timeline any longer. You need to give up on it and you need to cash in on it while he's still giving you 22 a night and his head is hitting the top of the backboard or whatever. He scored 22 a game last year. I don't know if he did that this year. That's my whole thing. Like, cash in on absolutely everything. If you believe in Fears and Queen, keep them. Good. And you should. They're young. Everyone else has to go. They have to go. I understood a little bit this year, trying it all out together and seeing how it worked. But also, has Joe Dumars been fired yet? He is the worst front office person in basketball. He cannot like what did you say the biggest problem with this roster is? It's not the players on paper, it's the fit. He doesn't have a fucking clue what he's doing. Listen, my whole thing, and people don't understand this, but it makes so much sense because there's not many great players who can be great coaches or great executives, and he is an example of that. He was a great player, so he has respect around the league. It doesn't fucking matter. Fire him. It's not the fucking 90s anymore. Fire him. You don't owe him anything. He sucks at his job. And he is tanking your franchise. And my goodness, I don't know. I think it's Minnesota that's going to the East. The only thing that could save this franchise right now is Adam Silver picking to send you guys to the East to where maybe you can make a fucking playoffs because the East sucks. Because a couple years ago, I remember Zion Williams had 40 fucking points in a fucking play-in game, and you guys were about to make the playoffs again. I don't even remember what fucking happened after that, but that was the last time I felt good about this franchise, and since then, you just fucking tanked everything. It's been completely horrible. I didn't even like the Jeremiah Fears pick. I actually think he's a pretty good player. I just didn't like it where it was at. I just didn't. And also, the DeJounte stuff is fucking ridiculous. He was a shell of himself after he left San Antonio. Like, he did stop playing defense when he didn't have Greg Popovich coaching him. He stopped being – the only time he was going to be really good anyways is when he was the full control point guard. I just don't understand some of their moves. They were making all-in win-now moves when they were not even fucking close. It's an absolute dumpster fire, so I agree with everything you're saying. But I wasn't even going to say them for this exercise because I can't get over the fact that I think they have a good amount of good players on their team. I just don't understand why they won't cash in on it and make all these moves.
Right. Who are you going to say?
I was going to go a little surprising direction. It's easy to maybe pick on the Kings right now, but I don't want to do that because I think they realize where they're at now, that they're so bad. I think they were holding on to the light the beam stuff and like, hey, our franchise made so much money and we got to a better place after the Keegan draft. And, I think they're kind of realizing what's going on now. They got probably going to fire Doug Christie though. This is maybe going to surprise you. I think it's the Washington Wizards. I think that's a surprising answer, but I'm not going to be a fool. Sure, do they deserve another? They haven't got the number 1 pick, and they love to bitch like they get fucked in the lottery every year. They just got the number 2 pick and got soft. they can keep making these right draft picks, but you just traded for Trae Young and Anthony Davis. So maybe you guys are going to be a play-in team next year, or maybe that does work out. But I don't like how any of your other players look. Listen, Will Riley is putting up having good games in April and stuff. I get it. Unless you're gonna just full blown give up on Bilal Coulibaly or whatever, then that's not gonna matter, because what's gonna happen next season is either Anthony Davis is gonna get hurt and not be able to play, or he's going to have no value when you guys aren't a fucking contender, because you won't be with this roster anyways when you need to move off of him. And Trae Young maybe can get you in a position where your offense is going to look decent and you're in a plan, but he's not going to make you a contender either. And these other guys around them aren't good anyways. So all I see happening from this, unless they get AJ or Darren right now and it works out somehow, I think that they're going to get fucked over by all of this, because all that's going to happen is they're going to get just that competitive enough to where they fool themselves to do stupid things, and they're not actually getting any closer. I hated the Trae Young move. I hate it now. I didn't mind it when it first happened, but thinking about it, they just are a team that just I don't see anything getting better for them. I don't like how they went for Anthony Davis and Trae Young. I think it puts too much pressure on these young players to develop. But I do understand the frustration, because guys weren't developing how you want them to anyways. This is maybe a hot take. I am out on the Wizards ever. I think that they are heading in some dangerous territories by getting these old vets on their team to mix with this young group. I think some teams can get away with doing something like that, can be really fun. Not the Wizards. You guys are not. You guys do not. They're going to fire Keith or whatever their coach's name, unless they make some grand slam hire and they're a team of destiny. This could all come back to bite me then. I don't like it. I don't like it.
The only thing I'll add is they are the unknown. Trae Young could legit opt out and be a free agent this year. Anthony Davis has his injury concerns. They're just a big. They're just a huge unknown. And like Bub, Trey Johnson last year, like they're kind of loaded at a lot of different positions, like with young guys that haven't really broke out just yet, to where I don't hate the Trae Young move, because I thought it was time that they got a nice table setter for some of these guys to make a nice true point guard, because like I don't consider Bub a true point guard. Trey Johnson's not really a true point guard. Like at least Trae Young is going to be able to set up the offense and everything else like that. My main thing is like the Anthony Davis piece of it all. Now they could be big brain and like maybe draft night try to flip Anthony Davis for something, because I think a team desperate enough, like there are teams desperate enough that could go after somebody like Anthony Davis. Like Golden State will probably be linked to Anthony Davis. Like another team that could be interesting is like maybe a team like the Phoenix Suns interested in Anthony Davis. Like there are going to be teams calling for Anthony Davis even with the injury concerns. He's just that kind of player to where like you're always banking on the if he's healthy. And I think he just has built that up for himself, because when he is healthy, he's elite on the defensive side of the ball. Like, that's no question. Yes. But I think they're just a super big unknown. And I think they have a lot of things on this roster right now that is either young guys that haven't broken out, your kind of franchise pieces in like Sarr, Keyshawn George. I think Trey Johnson is going to work his way into that conversation as well eventually. Bilal's an interesting one as well. So it's like they just have a lot of shit and a lot of unknown. A lot of unknown.
I think Bilal, I know, but okay, you know, I'll take back a little bit of what I said, because these fans just want to see some winning ball games anyways. So Trey is going to help with that. I get that. I just feel like it is so forced, though.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't you guys have so many young players? You need to find a way to just make a fucking Eastern Conference play-in without and sure, you can argue that they didn't really give up much to get these good players. Mm-hmm. I don't know, dude. It's more, maybe this rant is me being tired of me believing in what they're doing every year just for them to be the worst team in the NBA.
I think I'm in on the Trae Young thing, because I think they needed a true point guard. I'm glad they went in and bought low on Trae Young, because I think Trae Young has like been on like the bad narrative with the defensive stuff and everything else. Like he hasn't been the most healthy player either. So I like them buying low on somebody like him. Kind of like I like teams take it like that are in not a big market. That yes, he could opt out.
They just need to get W's.
Yeah, like they just need to get small wins. And like looking at them, I just think looking at buying low. Kind of what I'm talking about with the Brooklyn Nets is like you're in a situation to where like you're not like overly attacked. Like the Wizards are kind of, because like you have Sarr and then you have kind of this mix of young talent. I think there are only two guys they're attached to is Keyshawn George and Sarr. And I want to throw Trey Johnson in there because I'm a Trey Johnson fan. But like
Yeah,
they're not
it was
super
only year one for him.
uber attached to anybody on this roster to where it was like, yeah, go buy low on a Trae Young and just see what happens. Like even somebody like a John Morant, like there's a lot of stars in this league that guys like teams can buy low on. And I'm not saying they're like franchise changing players at this point, but it's just like, fuck, you gotta speed up some kind of development. I think Trae Young can do that. I'm more on the Anthony Davis, like, what are we doing there? Like,
Especially with Sarr.
I think I don't know. I think there's a world where Anthony Davis gets moved this summer. I truly do think so.
Yeah.
And I'm going into this offseason thinking that because I'm just like, there's no way they brought in Anthony Davis. Like, I don't know.
I guess,
but they didn't give up shit for Anthony Davis. Like,
I guess it's unfair for me to say darkest futures. I more was answering this how, we were just talking about teams we think have bright futures, like they're going. I just don't see the Wizards' trajectory looking like that the next 10 years like I see Utah's.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. But
like I think they could get better. They're going to get better now. I just don't know if I trust what they're doing I don't see the long-term vision with what they're doing very much. I think they're just hoping some of these draft picks they've made turn into really good players.
I can't wait for the lottery because a lot of the questions we have and the hypotheticals we kind of talk a lot about will be answered and everything else like that.
Oh, yeah. But dude, that's not for a while, I don't think, isn't it? Don't they wait till mid-playoffs?
Yeah. But we can wrap the episode up there, kind of talking a lot of college ball, NBA ball, play-in right around the corner next week, and we'll have our playoff predictions out next Monday morning as well. But that is all we have for you guys for this episode of the Barrels Talk Podcast. Hope you tune in to future episodes.